is Tiffany Youngren. I feel like a lot of you know who I am, but if you don't, or if you're watching this video and you're new to the All-Star Zone, I'm Tiffany Youngren. My husband and I invest in real estate, and he'll be popping in soon. He's taking our grandkids to their dad's house. We help take care of them as well. And we have twice monthly virtual meetups. It's a fairly new, it's not a new group, but this is a new time and it's a new format. So I feel like we're rolling into a new generation of the All-Star Zone. Today, I'm very excited to have Anthony and Daniel here, and they're with, I know they've got HiveMind, and I'm going to let Anthony share more about that, as well as a mastermind I saw you've got going on. One thing I really like is Anthony and I met through, we both work with not just investing in real estate, but the same software. So when you hear me talking about a CRM, it's the same thing that Anthony builds on, but what he does is completely different. That's the beauty of the software that we use. It's not just about the software, it's about the brain and the utility behind it. So Anthony, with no further ado, why don't you just share a little bit about yourself, what you do, and then also crack the code, like how do you create cash flow with vacant land?
Okay, yeah, thank you for having us on here. I really appreciate it. Yeah, always good to connect and see how things are going with you and your team. So yeah, I can tell you, I'm a land investor out of Texas. I started just over 4 years ago. I got lucky coming into real estate because I have a marketing background. So before I got into real estate, I said, oh man, this is interesting. I could probably become a billionaire, open up a bank and a credit union and all kinds of other things, just based on what I saw could happen in real estate. So just out of dumb luck, I guess, I got one of my first deals was a land deal and I made $85,000. So I'm a professional contractor. I've been a contractor for 20 years. I can flip a house in 30 days, but I'm like, damn, if I could make, almost 6 figures and with just signing 2 or 3 contracts with nothing out of pocket, then I'm probably going to roll with that. So now what we're doing, Daniel and myself, is we are trying to leverage as much debt as possible. So we're real estate investors, but we kind of, I guess we're more like we're more on the finance side. So what we're interested in is not how many acres we can capture, how many doors we can capture. We're trying to see how much cash flow we can capture, at 10 to 12% interest. So that's been our business model for the last couple of years. We're just trying to write a ton of paper, and you don't need capital out of your own pocket to write $1 billion worth of loans. You can do it just by leveraging the equity inside of the property. So the same way that you would buy a flip house or an apartment complex, for $4 million, drive up the rates, drive up the rent, raise your cap rate, and then have a cool 10-figure exit or whatever. You can do that with land in the same year. So you don't have to wait 2 years or 4 years or 7 years to leverage all the debt out of it. And you don't need credit lines. You don't need almost any kind of capital at all, because we're doing seller finance and creative finance. So we can come into a $5 million ranch, suck up all the equity out of it, use that to improve the property, and then sell it, and then have a $1 million exit or a $2 million exit, and without ever putting anything, like $1, without putting anything into the property at all, just for piecing the deal together. So that's what we're working on now. So we have some cash flow in place, and then of course we have our quick hits. Like right now, I got 100 acres in Fredericksburg, Texas for 3.5 million. And then we're wholesaling it right now for 5 million. So it might be $1.5 million spread in 6 weeks. So we call these unicorn deals, Daniel and myself, but we're learning how to find them at scale, over and over and over again. So we're just getting started. I feel like we're newbies, but we have cracked the code as far as being able to generate 7 figures per deal over and over and over again in 6 to 12 months.
So did you start with the big deals?
No, well, I got that first 46-acre farm. Like I said, I made 85 grand, before I think that was my second contract ever when I got into real estate. So we just automatically started gravitating towards larger scale land deals.
How soon? You did the $85,000 deal. Did you start to scale before you got into the bigger deals, or
nothing?
How did you go from point A to point B?
I'm telling you, it was dumb luck. So I ran 25,000 in marketing immediately, in 4 weeks or something, or 5 weeks. I got my first contract in 40 days. It was on like a 3,000 square foot house that just needed like 150,000 in remodeling. So I made like every bit of like $800 on that first deal, and it took months to close. But I think my second contract, I got that farm and I made 85 grand right away. Like just second deal. I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
Oh, man. And you guys mentioned having something you wanted to share. Do you have like slides, or do you have photos that you want to share with us?
You want to show them one of the subdivides, Daniel, like Jet Road or something?
Yeah, I mean, we can.
So the fastest way to extract equity out of a property, like the way to force appreciation out of a big giant ranch or farm, is just to chop it up into pieces. So you buy 1,000-acre ranch and you make 100-acre sections, and then you sell those 100-acre sections like for double. So you can, like I said, if you buy a $1 million ranch, you could leverage it into 2 just on paper, like in 90 days, with no remodel, no culverts, no knocking down trees, nothing at all. You're just really pushing paper. And
So how do you find your deals?
right now we're going straight to the MLS.
And do you look for, so do you typically look for properties to subdivide then, or what's your criteria?
That's the lowest hanging fruit. Yeah. So subdivide property, you would find we'd like to start at properties that are $1 million or above. That's the value. Because again, if we're shooting for 2x, we're trying to make $1 million per deal. And then if the deal falls apart and you only make 500,000, we still did pretty good. So we look for, on the MLS, like land.com, realtor.com. We look for land that's on sale and that has been on sale for a long time. So it's been on sale for a year and a half. And those are our easiest targets, lowest hanging fruit.
So what we're looking at right here, this is our first subdivide we did. It took us about 9 months to complete. The main parcel was, this parcel was already there, and the rest was one big chunk, almost like this one, but there's one parcel right here. So we ended up subdividing it into all these different lots and selling them all off. So this is we took one big lot like this and subdivided it down to 11.
You see all those little skinny red pencils?
Yeah.
Those tracks are like 3,500 feet long by like 150 feet wide. So it's like the ugliest ranch you could ever freaking own. And we sold this property out in 12 months. We paid off, we had a 2-year balloon on it. We paid it off in 9 months. And we made about 400 grand on it.
So what's the use case for this? Like, what do people do with those?
So we don't sell to any investors, and we don't sell to any developers. We don't sell to any commercial use people like ourselves, like flippers. We sell directly to the end consumer. So the people that are going to like throw goats and chickens in there and throw up a barn and a mobile home.
Why do you do that?
Sorry?
Why do you sell to end users only?
Because if you sell to, go ahead, Daniel.
Number one is investors always want a discount. And two, we can make bigger spreads by selling directly to the retail market. So we're like, where most wholesalers are like, oh, I don't want to sell, I'll sell to investors. They're actually cutting themselves a double haircut. So they have to build in a huge discount and then sell it here because the investor wants money here. We make huge spreads because we get it wholesale, we sell it straight to retail.
Yeah.
So you must have your own real estate team, or do you refer it out to a real estate team?
We do a lot of guerrilla marketing.
Okay.
We do signage, we text blast agents, and then if we actually own the property, we put it in MLS.
Okay.
How did you actually decide to do those long, slender pieces?
That was the only way to make money on it. And the reason why we went after this subdivide is because seller gave us time. So we had enough time to figure it out, and the deal kind of made sense. So a lot of our deals we go into now, as long as they give us time to do our subdivide, like that was the worst subdivide. Like it's ugly. Like we don't even look for property like that even now, and we still make money. So like, if we can make money on a terrible subdivide like that, we can make money on home run deals. So now we're looking for home run deals only, and we know we can still make money on a terrible one because we did it the first time on accident. But it was just one of the things where we had time.
So I'll tell you, the property was shaped like this. Let me see. Oh man, it's not going to.
It's invisible.
Okay, so it's shaped like this, like a rectangle. Right. So ideally, in a dream scenario, you'd want to run a road all the way down one side, and then all your 10-acre tract would come off of that one road. But that road could be 500,000. It could be $1 million. It could be $1.5 million. Right. So all we need is we just need a piece of road frontage where they can enter the property. And then the rest is like, it's up to them if they
No.
want to buy it. So
Right.
in this property, the best challenge is that it was about 50% in the flood zone. So with an entrance off of the main road, and then you get a piece where you could build your house, and then you get a piece in the flood zone where you could go, a creek or shoot a hog or something. So this is the dream scenario where they get a piece of land and a piece of flood zone, and everybody has the exact same lot. So it did take a little bit longer to sell than what would be typical, but they sold for an excellent price, still put out a lot of profit. So any kind of developer like KB Homes or any of those big guys, they're going to run from these type of lots. And this is our bread and butter. This is the one that nobody's looking for. Like, oh, that one's in a flood zone, and they all run away scared. We grab it and we make 3 million on it.
Now,
So
Go ahead, Jim, go ahead.
in Montana, if you do that, you can do it with down to 160 acres without having to go to a subdivision review. But if you have to go to a subdivision review around here, it could take you a year to get a subdivision approved. My last
100%.
one did.
100%. And this is why we like Texas. So Texas, state Texas, you need 10 acres or more. As long as it's 10 acres or more, you can do it, which is why we like Texas. So the subdividing process is really simple. We're even working on a subdivide right now that we even broke that rule. We're doing, it's a little 10-acre lot. We're subdividing into 11 lots. Same idea.
Yeah. So as long as you stay above 10 acres in Texas, it's agricultural. All you need to do is survey it off. So you can take a 100-acre lot, survey it off in 8 weeks. You're sold out at 90 days, and you walked away with 500,000, 900,000, $1.5 million.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome. So I got a question. If these properties were on the market for so long, what suddenly made them more desirable for people to buy versus when you picked them up?
That's a great question. And the real answer is that we solve problems in the marketplace. So the marketplace, not everybody can buy 100 acres at a time. It could be $1 million or $2 million to purchase it. So what we're doing is we're taking unobtainable land because right now, for instance, we have a property, 350 acres for $3.5 million. How many buyers out there can afford $3.5 million? Very, very small, especially with this $3.5 million worth of land. What are you going to do with that? So with us, by us cutting it down, we're making it affordable price point. And everybody wants 10, 15 acres, but they can't buy 350. So all we're doing is we're taking that 350, cutting it down to affordable chunks and selling that off.
So how do you finance these deals?
We do a lot of creative, and then we're starting to get a lot of private capital too.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot of creative, which is why we come in with a creative hand. So like a lot of the deals we go after, they've been on the MLS for 6 months or more. Like what's another 6 months to actually get the deal done versus sitting on the market, which is why we go after MLS listings. MLS listings, it's a motivated seller. They want to sell. They have marketing out there that they want to sell at a certain price. So all we do is we just negotiate off the price. And like a lot of what we do is we offer, most of the time we offer full price listing. We don't even negotiate because essentially, if you're familiar with commercial multifamily, they either increase the NOI and decrease debt to raise the profitability of the property. With land, all we have to do is subdivide it. It's the same thing. So we can pay full price on the MLS and still make money by subdividing.
So you could force appreciation like in a day, right? So we can get $1 million wrench, get out a sheet of white notebook paper, and just draw squares like this, number them 1 through 9, and then start getting contracts on that property.
And now it's worth 2.
You can force $1 million of appreciation in like 15 minutes with a Sharpie. And then everybody else, like you sign the contract with them, send it to the title company. Now you're just waiting for the deal to close while they're getting their funding in place. Your surveys are coming back in. But we did a property, we got it for 350. We sold like 900,000 worth of land, and we hadn't even closed on the property yet. We were all sold out.
That's incredible. Go ahead.
Do you have a list by state of what the requirements are? Because Montana, that's obviously going to be difficult unless you're buying. I mean, I've seen guys do it with $10 million ranches here where they're splitting them into 160-acre parcels and getting them sold. But that takes I mean, is there other states that it's easy like it is in Texas that are closer to me?
I would say this though, we would stay away from like California and New York. right?
Or
Certainly.
I might stay away from the city of Austin, right? But I like Florida, I like Texas. So my thing is this: if you're gonna dip your toe into this water, right, you're gonna jump in all by yourself, like off the side of a yacht, or would you just like say, hey, can you guys look at this deal in south of San Antonio for me, right? We have all the tools in place, we have all the lenders in place, we can be boots on the ground. So instead of you like trying to go mine for gold, not even knowing what's under the ground, you say, hey, we got a big mine here. Do you have a shovel, right? So we just recommend everybody starts in Texas until you learn the game, and then you can go wherever you want. There, but the end, we'll all be, everybody on this route in this Zoom will be dead, and we'll still have not flipped like 0.1% of the land in Texas.
Which is why we like Texas. There's so much of land available. It's just crazy. So like our sweet spot is 60 minutes within a major city. So right now, the 350 acre deal we're working, it's about 40 minutes outside of Dallas.
Look,
So
we got this deal. You want me to tell them? Do you tell them the numbers? So this deal, I had never even seen it before. Okay. So we get it under contract. It's like 5 hours away. We started marketing for leads. We got 36 buyer appointments booked. The very first day we showed that thing, we sold $2.2 million worth of land. We made about $1 million in profit in less than 12 hours.
wow.
And that's a property I had never seen before. So no matter what state you're in, you don't have to be present here with us to make a deal. You know, you could just basic marketing, hop on damn realtor.com, look at some land, been listed for 800 days, call them, say, do you guys want to put a deal together or not? That's it. And if they say no, just go to the next one.
Mhm. There's thousands of deals.
Yeah, unlimited deals. Like I said, we'll be dead and we haven't flipped nothing. I mean, there's just thousands and thousands of deals out there.
So do you
Well,
JV
I'm
with
a-
people outside of Texas, or you stick to Texas?
Like I said, we're doing one right now in Florida, you know, stuff like that. So we can do it in other markets. We would just prefer everybody works here because I can pick up the phone, and we tried to raise $450,000 on a phone call. We left the call with 2.1 million of private money. So if you guys get a deal here, we can get it funded. We might buy it for ourselves. You know, we already have buyers. So again, like, why would you go start farming in the Arizona desert when, you know, all the money's here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one thing I'll say too is that we like being where people want to be. So a lot of people, there's a lot of people in the land space. I don't know if you guys are a lot of land investors. They like flipping land lots in the desert. No one wants to live in the desert. Like no one wants to live there. So if you want to sell something valuable, you want to get something valuable in return. So that's why we like operating within the cities, because people are willing to commute for their little haven of land. So like if you work in Austin, you're willing to travel within 40 minutes of Austin. If you have your 10 acres or your farm, your ranch, your horse ranch, whatever you want to do with it, chickens, you're willing to commute to make that travel. So that's why like people like being close to the airports, Austin Airport, Dallas Airport, Fort Worth Airport, San Antonio Airport. People are willing to commute to that because they might travel for whatever reason. So if you're within someplace, a desirable area, but you're in that buffer zone, it's always in the path of progress. And population not always grows, but when a city grows, it expands. So there's always opportunity in the path of progress. So as that city expands, there's always opportunity right outside wherever you were just looking.
So if you think of like the city like a clock, 99.999% of land investors look inside of that clock face for land deals, and they look for like 1 acre, half acre. They call 100 builders, they get all the list of builders, and then they sell all those deals to just those 1 or 2 or 10 builders. And us, our backs to the city. Like when we do a marketing campaign, we'll do a circle around the city and then crop it out. And we don't do anything in the city at all. We work all in the outskirts. That's all we do.
Really?
Yeah.
Why did you decide to do that?
That's where all the money is. That's where you can get a 150 acre ranch and turn around and sell it for 500. But you're not going to get that in the city because it's all that competition. Everybody's going after the same stuff. And the further out you go, the less and less desirable the land becomes. So you're as close to the city as possible, right where it's hot. But then if it's too expensive, you go out another 2 or 3 miles and you find a killer deal that you can still get top dollar for.
That makes sense to me though.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
So besides looking on the MLS, how else do you guys find deals? Is it primarily MLS, or do you have other ways that you find them?
That's all. I mean, so to be honest, we turned off our marketing 4 months ago. We haven't spent $1 in marketing.
Oh, gosh.
And
Really?
we have 21 million under contract. Actually, no, we just got a contract yesterday, right?
yeah.
That's a sell. Yeah, we have 21 million under contract right now, and we haven't spent $1 in marketing.
That's
So
crazy.
Now I know you have, so Anthony, do you mind, or Daniel, either of you, do you mind kind of sharing your model? Because, Anthony, you and I spoke, and I know you were like gathering people, and, you're really collaborative, which is exhibited tonight too. what is that model? Like, I know you've got the
We're
HiveMind and then you bring people in. Do you JV with them as well? I mean, how does that work?
we run me and Anthony we call it a decentralized organization. So most people, they have huge teams, huge offices. Like we've talked to them. They do a podcast and they have like 50 people working in an office behind them. Like I don't even live in Texas. and I'm doing deals in Texas. So we run a decentralized company. So a lot of our people we just JV with. I'd rather instead of having a high-end payroll where I got to pay 50 people each month or whatever that is, I'd rather just do JVs. They get paid on performance. So we teach people how to find a deal depending on if they have capital resources or if they're just bringing the deal. We might just give them a wholesale fee, just like a wholesaler. Or if they have capital resources they're going to put into the deal, we might JV with them. It really depends on the deal itself. But a lot of people, they require, each deal is going to be completely different. We have a deal right now, a student's going to make like almost $500,000, and we got a contract for that yesterday. $1.5 million assignment fee. So, and we have to pay an agent on that too. So he might make $500,000 to $600,000.
Yeah, one of our guys, Evan Price, his very first deal that he's ever got, he's gonna make 1.5 million. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Incredible.
So it's good
is
for
it through your
long-term.
mastermind or just your like community, or how did you build that group of people that you're open to doing deals with?
So we have like a subscription base, with GHL. So it's the same platform, right, that we built our companies on. So when somebody joins, we just talk with them, see what they're doing, see what they're interested in. And then sometimes they just need help setting up their marketing. So I'm like, hey, cool, what are you going to go after? Like, well, I don't know what to go after. Well, try land. If you get a deal, call me. And we've been doing that consistently now for a couple of years. And now the machine's kind of bringing all the leads in. So like Daniel said, we can turn off our marketing now and we can't even run numbers on all the leads we already have. So if we turned on our marketing, it would just be obnoxious. We'd have no way to field all those leads.
Man, that's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
What other questions do you guys have? Everybody on the call.
So you're interested in looking for people that or just want to be involved or supply capital? What are you looking for with people like us?
Well, go ahead.
The way we answer that is everybody has their special skill. So like and this is where like running a wholesale business is hard because you gotta know how to generate leads. You gotta be good at negotiations. You gotta be good at follow-up. You gotta have systems in place to follow up. You gotta be good at closing. You gotta have capital. You have to have all these different things to do a wholesale deal or even buy deals in whole. So essentially, whatever your skill set is, we can just throw it into the thing because we have such a big system that we need capital. We need people that do marketing. We need people that go find deals. We need people that are negotiate. Like we need all these different things. So we need people to help dispo. So and even then we don't even have our own team dispo. We have our students dispo because they might need cash. So they pay into the mastermind. They go find a buyer to buy the deal. We'll pay them 10 grand, just like we do a wholesaler. So instead of paying random strangers and feeding random strangers to go find the deals or buyers, or whatever, we just keep it all internal. I'd rather pay one of my students 10 grand to bring me a buyer. I'd rather pay one of my students 50 grand for finding me a deal. I'd rather do that or 100 grand, whatever that looks like, depending on the deal size. I'd rather pay them internally versus pay out to random strangers.
Yeah, so we say instead of us being vertically integrated, we're horizontally integrated, right? So mostly everybody that's operating with us.
I get that though.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand that as a philosophy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes a long way. So we help everybody. And then some people take the information and they run and they go do their own deal. And then some people come back and say, hey, I have a freaking $3 million deal. I don't know what the heck to do. And we just partner with them. Or we'll just, like Daniel said, give them a big assignment fee, 100 grand or 80 grand, whatever's appropriate. But if they have a little capital to invest with us, then we'll look at putting that into a deal. That's the easiest way to learn. I have a friend, he bought a training course from us and he threw 50,000 in. So I just put him into a live deal. And now he's on all the communication with the engineers, all the buyers, the title company. Like he doesn't know anything about real estate, but he's watching this really high, value transaction go down and all the moving parts live. So always raising capital, always bringing new leads in. And that's kind of what we're looking for. We'll help anybody. We don't even care if we're going to get anything out of it. We just can help you look.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just to give you an illustration, I asked Anthony to come because I watch him on Facebook and I see everybody interacting with him. Everybody's just constantly talking about all this money they're making with vacant land. And I know it's come up at our our group a couple times too, our local group. And I'm like, well, I know this magician who knows how to make money at a land. And we've developed land. So it's not like I don't, I mean, we all know you can go get a piece of land, divide it up. But then wherever the conversation goes, it always seems to go like, oh yeah, but you don't need capital. I'm thinking, okay, every time I've done a development, it was more capital than anything I've ever done.
Exactly.
It's high risk. It's like the riskiest thing we do. In fact, in 2008, it's what took everything down. So, and then I'm like, okay, well, every time I talk to Anthony, it still sounds like I still don't get it. Like I still don't understand how you could do it. And so, the fact that it's kind of turned into this conversation where it's like, I mean, I'm ready to go look for deals in Texas, and but I appreciate how collaborative you guys are. So if it sounds like I brought him here to like recruit everybody to look for deals, that isn't the case, but it is, there's a lot to be said for learning by doing and having somebody help guide you along the way, for sure.
When I say the biggest aspects is a lot of our competitors, they do put that money up front. They do put up all that expense up front. I would say what's different as us is we try and come through a creative lens. There's so many plethora of deals out there that we just want to look at people that want to work creatively, whether it's a 2-year balloon, 2-year balloon, 5-year balloon, 10-year balloon, 15-year balloon. We're trying to get something creatively done because that land isn't going anywhere in most cases. It isn't. It'll sit on the MLS for 3 years. It'll just sit there. They'll take it off the MLS and put it back up on the MLS 2-3 years later. Like it doesn't change hands very often. So if we can pick it up creatively, we don't have to be 100% correct, which is why that first deal made sense. Is that it was a bad subdivide. You saw it. It was a bad subdivide. If you guys were here, if you guys came in late or not, but it was a bad subdivide. It really was. But we still made money on it because we acquired creatively, and that's what gives the juice and opens up a lot of opportunity because we're picking up creatively.
Hey, can you guys share an example of a deal that you did that a lot of the numbers that you're saying are so huge and it's just like blowing our minds? Can you share an example either that you partnered with or that you did on your own that, that is kind of a more middle of the road thing that is approachable that people can think like, oh, I could do that,
Look, so we have this 10 commandments for our group, and one of the 10 commandments is who cares how much it costs, because it's all the same thing. Everything's the same thing. So I got a 8-acre tract in a place called Orange Grove, Texas. It's about hour and a half south of San Antonio. I got that thing for, what was it, Daniel? I got it for 8,000, right? Or 5,000.
He got it for 8.
5 acres, 8,000. So I sold
my story. I tell you don't tell the story.
Yeah, Daniel has facts. I just like, I remember I did one.
So Anthony had a seller come up. The guy wanted $15,000 for his lot, and it was worth about 35 to 40-ish, and it was already half off. So most wholesalers were like, yeah, I'll buy that. Anthony's like, if he's coming already at 15, let me have him. She's like, I want an 8. So the seller is like, no, I need 15. I'm not gonna sell it for 8. Like, I need 15. He's like, all right, whatever. So one of the beauties about land is that time's on your side. You just let it season. You make your offer and you wait. So 90 days later, the guy comes back and he's like, hey, I remember you're interested in buying my land. We buy it for 15. And Anthony's like, no, I told you 8. I still want to buy it for 8. So the guy's like, all right, I'll take 8. He couldn't find a buyer to buy it at half off. Couldn't find one. Mm-hmm. So we buy it at 8. What do? We put it on Marketplace for $8,000 down, $500 a month. We found a buyer in 2 weeks. And the $8,000 we got from the buyer went straight to the seller, and now we collect $500 a month for doing nothing.
Wow.
So
that's equivalent to a rental. Most rentals cash flow to $500 a month. So we made $500 a month for 5 years on a $35,000 lot that was no money into it.
So
how do your buyers typically perform when you do the creative financing on the sale, on the dispo side?
We haven't had one crash yet. Yeah, they've been the people, we take no less than 10% down. So the people, they're kind of invested already, right? So they buy a $200,000 rent from you and they got to give you 20 or 30 grand down. They're not really likely to default too quickly.
We had one buyer come in. He put like $150,000 down, and he was paying like $7,000 a month.
Yeah, he paid it off quick. Paid it off in less than a year. You're just paying $6 grand, $7 grand, $6 grand, $7 grand. So think about this now. You can do that with any size of transaction, right? So we got a 54-acre tract for $350. We took like I don't know, 10, 20% down for every single lot. And then now all that capital that we have as down payments from our resale, 3 months later, 4 months later, it's closing time. You just take that capital, then give it to the seller. So really, like, that wasn't my money, that was the end buyer's money, and you just give it right to the seller.
Man, at one of our the mastermind that we're in, they were talking about like, money mindset and things like that. And I feel like hearing you guys talk about your deals is really challenging that whole side of things, because it's true that it's the same amount of risk regardless of how many zeros are at the end of it. And, making that much money on it, just as approachable because you're tying it up and then doing stuff with it and selling it. Do you typically sell before you even close on the purchase, or what's the time frame typically look like?
Our first one took a year. We paid it off in 9 months, but then it took us a year to make our profit. So total of 12 months from start to finish. The second one, like I said, we knocked it out in 90 days. The third one we're doing right now is 218 acres. That's going to probably take, I would say, 6 months to a year, but that's like a 1.2 million or 1.4 million profit. We have another one in Greenville, Texas. We've been working for 60 days. We have another probably 60 days left on it, and we're almost halfway sold out. So, it's starting to be, like I said, sub 6 months is what it feels like, but I wouldn't be surprised if these deals run to 12 months or 18 months. But if you can crank out $1 million every 12 months per deal, it kind of feels like it's going to come out in the wash.
But you close on it first and then it takes the 6 months typically. Is that right? Is that how that?
If we have to, like I said, hopefully we get to the closing table and we're already sold out before we close. But if not, then we'll just fund the difference. And then, then we start selling. And then that's when we get our profit back, because we're usually like last to get paid.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So how long is your closing usually? Like how long from the time that you have the contract to close?
We asked for 120 days, and I'm really looking for 180 days. I got a commercial property right now for 4.4 mil. I'm hoping to squeeze out somewhere between 2 and 7. I got 2 years to close.
Nice. Any other questions? Does anyone else have questions for Anthony? Jim, are you asking a question? Because you're on mute.
There.
Are you there?
Okay.
Frozen. Anyone else in the meantime until Jim comes back with us?
I would rather flip vacant land, because I'm a general contractor like you. Yeah, I'd rather flip vacant land and not touch it.
Man, I'm telling you, you just get 100 acres, get it under contract, say, hey, I need 6 months to close or 9 months to close. Let the seller know that you're going to be pre-shopping ranchettes, because that's my motto. I tell them, look, if nobody wants to buy 10 acres, for my price, then I don't want the property. Why do I want to get stuck with it? So I let them know that I'm going to be kind of pre-shopping it a little bit. And that's it. Yeah. You can get a surveyor or an engineering firm to cut it up for you, 10-acre tracts, no curbs, no culverts, no running, no electric, no nothing. Sometimes there's no public water. They got to drill a well, and then you just give them their survey, take it to title and close, and you just keep the spread.
Awesome.
Yeah, it is awesome. Can't hear you, Jim.
Just a sec. How many years have you guys been doing this?
January was the start of our 5th year. So just over 4 years.
Okay. Because I bought a failed subdivision several years ago, and I sat on that for 3 years and couldn't sell anything.
So
And then suddenly when COVID hit, I sold out in 30 days.
Mhm.
It's so weird the way everything spiked when COVID hit. I thought things were going to slow down, but it went nuts for a second there. So yeah, our thing is if we can't sell it before we close, then we don't want to buy it. So you're almost never carrying any risk. If it's coming the closing
That's
time,
crazy.
yeah, if I'm 2 months away from closing or 30 days away from closing and we haven't had any sales or any interest, we'll tell the seller, we're sorry, we're out, and maybe we have 1% non-refundable earnest money on the table, 50 grand, 30 grand. You can keep it. We're out of here, because there's no way we're going to go into this property now 2 or 3 million if it hasn't sold or we don't have any buyers. So yeah.
Okay, so that's how you protect yourself. I see.
Never go into a bad deal, not once, because we say we like to have it sold before we buy it.
That's a great, yeah, free shop it. That's an awesome.
Let the seller know. We let the seller know. I'm showing ranchettes, I'm going to give people the address. I'm going to have them go by and take pictures. And if they don't want it, I don't want it. You know, I'm not going to live there. I'm buying it so I can make some profit. And then some sellers were just like, no, I don't want anybody to do that. And some are like, shoot, if that's what you're going to do, I think you're going to do great. Yeah, you guys have at it. Permission to show the property and everything. So
You guys want to
That's
see a
awesome.
deal we're closing on? It's a little small subdivide, but we're closing on it this week.
Yeah, I do. You want to see it?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna show you the property and then I'll show you what it looks like here in a
look,
second.
as long as you stay above 10 acres, like I said, you can get that done like in 2 months. Once you go below 10 acres, it could take a year for the replatting process. For whatever reason, this city let us get away with the replatting like in a couple months.
So this is the deal. This is outside of Tyler. So this is Tyler, Texas. As you see, Tyler is it's not a big city, but it's a small city. But as you can see, our property, I know exactly where it is right outside the property, right outside of Tyler. So we're right here. Literally, Tyler's right here. And we're to the right of it, right here. So the reason why we like this property is because frontage on 1, 2, 3 streets.
Mm.
That's your dream
Lots of
scenario for
access.
the property.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing better than this would be road on 4 sides of the property. So if you have
Yeah.
that much road touching the property, that's a winner.
So, and then this is what we cut it up to. So let me pull it up. I have it here in a second. So we cut this one up into 11 lots. Give me a second. And this one we're closing on it this week. And we'll have it all essentially done. So this one we picked up for $225. The wholesaler is actually a podcast host and guest of ours. And I told him we did land, so he found a deal, brought it to us, and then he's making $50K on the deal. So he found it for $175, and we're buying it from him from $225. And let me pull up the lots here in a second. Sorry about that. One moment here.
And your podcast is HiveMind podcast, is that right?
Hive with us.
Hive with us, okay.
Hive with us podcast. All right, here's. I'm gonna send it to you, Anthony, so I can pull up a message. All right, sorry about that.
That's okay. I'm excited to see how it got split up.
The way you cut these things up is like you gotta be a surgeon. So we've had people call us and tell us, you know, hey, this property is no good. You guys can have it if you want it. And then we stare at it for 2 or 3 days and like, oh, I got an idea. And then bang, one they send us, they wanted like 1.7 million. I thought we could make at least like 1.5 million profit. And then Daniel got to looking at it. We started talking about it. We could have squeezed 3 million profit out of that deal. But we needed to come up with the money in 10 days. So we raised the money, 1.7 mil, and then we had to do a water study to see if we could put in as many water meters as we would have needed to complete a development like that. And then we couldn't get the water study done in time. So we raised the cash in 10 days, but we went ahead and just pulled out because we just want to be more careful with other people's money than we would be with our own.
Mm.
Yeah,
All right, so here's the deal. So we essentially, this is dimensions of it. As you see, it's the same thing as that lot. We cut it into 11 lots, different dimensions, and then.
Does everybody recognize that shape?
Yep.
Right. So the road runs along the short end where it says number
Yeah.
1, and then all the way along the left side, and then the bottom on 11 and 10. That's where all the road was. So now you can drive in on 11, 10, 9, all the way. So these are all the final lots that we're cutting up, and we're going to sell those. So what we do is we just sell everything on seller finance when at all possible.
Yeah, so this one we picked up for $225. Remember, we're selling this one for 70 to 75,000 each with 10% down.
So what does that come out to for total note sales?
If we did 75,000 times 11, that's 825.
825.
825,000 minus we picked it up for 225.
Yep.
And then of course we got some survey costs and whatever else.
Yeah, so
Right.
$500,000 on a 10-acre lot.
Yeah, and then again, like let's say we got to liquidate at some crazy price and you only make, 300,000 or 250, like woe is me, right?
So
Yeah.
half a million on a 10 acre, on 10, half a million for 30 years is 4,300 a month. Cash flow.
So imagine how big of an apartment complex would have had to have bought to make that much cash flow. Somebody do the math for me, whoever's good at that.
Right here. So 5.
And that's profit. That's not like, that's not your
That's
growth.
insane. Yeah.
What size apartment
Amazing.
complex would that be? Is that like 50 doors or something, or 25 doors or something?
If you cash flow 500 per unit, that's 8.5.
Little
Nine.
numbers,
That's what we're looking for.
8 or 9 plex.
Hmm.
That's pretty dope. So that means if we bought it for 225, that's like buying a remodeled 8 plex for 225,000.
That's incredible.
Cash flowing day one.
It's amazing.
Yeah. And there's a million of them out there like this. Yeah.
So
That's
I mean,
awesome.
is this interesting to everybody? Can you see why I was excited to have?
No,
Anthony
it's not
and
interesting at
Daniel
all.
I
Very,
hate
very
it.
boring.
About it.
on?
I
What was
hate
that,
it.
Jim?
Oh, I said, I just wish I knew it if there was a place closer that would work, because in Montana that you just can't do that.
Don't do it in Montana.
I
Do
know.
it
That's
in Texas.
Idaho. Someplace I can get to quicker than Texas. but-
You know when they say when you go to the doctor and you say it hurts when I do this. Well, don't do that.
Don't do that. Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Jim, I mean, we always, I guess, flying to one place or the other, I guess, once for us, we have to also get through Wyoming. So I don't know what Wyoming laws are, but,
So and this is where it comes down to like every law, every state's gonna be specific. Like I was on Twitter and there was like a developer out of New York. He's like, I have to buy everything before I even get my due diligence done because there's so much competition. I'm like, why you operate there then?
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
I'll
Like,
tell you,
and for him, he's like, it takes like 3 years. It's like California. It takes 3 years to get anything even on paper, and no one's going to
Oh, yeah.
property for 3 years. So you got to
Yeah.
think people out there are operating. They have to buy, then do the due diligence to even see if they can make money, and then do whatever they're going to do. So
Yeah.
a lot of that is it's crazy. Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
And like when he was looking at our market, like we just sell it before we buy it.
yeah.
That's
Seems
awesome. That's pretty
simple.
simple.
And one thing you guys say too is that whole within 60 miles of a major city, and the major cities you guys are talking about aren't the size that we find in Montana too. So like if we were to look in a market to do that, I mean, number one, I would look in Texas, mostly because I'm always finding any excuse to spend more time by my mom, but also, for having people that I trust that I could partner up with is a big deal also. But then you look at that whole, like you said, there's so much land there. There are multiple large cities, and those large cities are huge, and the laws that, are favorable towards being able to make money through the model that you guys are using. So, and again, like you said, learn it and do it somewhere else, is kind of the other side.
yeah, do one, go through your first one, and then go wherever the heck you want. But if you're trying to learn and you're trying to fight the laws and you're trying to do everything else, like that's like
It's an uphill battle.
yeah, you're going backwards.
Yeah,
It's-
you guys mentioned that you don't buy in the desert because nobody wants to live in the desert, but yet Phoenix is one of the biggest cities in the country. Why wouldn't you do a deal around Phoenix if the laws were similar?
Well, so Phoenix, there's exceptions to the rule. Like if you live in Montana, you might want to go maybe 20 minutes outside the city. There's that little buffer zone where you can find a good chunk, and it's still like somewhat. It might even Phoenix is an exception. Like no, there's people that buy in the middle of the desert with no city within it, 30 miles, like 50 miles, 100 miles. Like,
so example, when I first started, I bought 2 acres, like 2.5, 3 hours southeast of Phoenix, Arizona. And it's some little like ghost town. Like if you look at the pictures online, it looks like that's like a saloon. Like they had shootouts there and stuff with the local sheriff, right? Like in the movies, it looks like a movie set is what the town looks like. I bought those lots for like $600 each for like 1.5 acres each. And today they're still worth like 600, right? 3-4 years later. So I think that's what we mean, like not desert squares, but yeah, if you're in a freaking LA desert by Temecula, like please grab some land. Yeah.
Well, and it's easier for us to fly to Phoenix or Vegas. So Jim, is that kind of what you're thinking is Phoenix?
Well,
is-
I go to Phoenix anyway. I have a place
That's
there.
right.
So I go to Phoenix a lot and I'm like, desert's pretty.
Yep,
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
So-
that would be a
I
good
love it.
market also, probably.
So
You
one
need
of
to
the
find buyers. It's
Oh,
just about finding buyers.
So one of the cool things I'll say about land, as like, even if you don't want to subdivide it now, there's keep call it land banking. People just buy land and sit on it. There's somebody who saw on Twitter. He bought like 15 acres out in the middle of Phoenix. Like imagine how big Phoenix is and all these little subdivided houses and stuff like that. He bought a big old chunk of land. He held it for 2 years. He said he ended up selling it and subdividing it for 20x return within 2 years.
Wow,
Wow.
wow.
Have the progress. That's all it is. And like it's one of those things where like you can see if you just go to the whatever parcel map, whether it's Landglide or something, or the county CAD or the Texas people, you can go to the county thing and just see houses, chunk. Okay, why is that chunk there? What's there? Is it flood zone? Okay, let me go flood zone. I literally found a 20-acre lot in Atlanta just by doing that on Google Maps. I'm looking for houses, big old forest. Okay, what's in the forest? Who owns that? Oh, same owner owns that. Why does he own that? How long has he owned it for? Oh, let me call this guy. And then I'm negotiating a deal. He wants to give me the parcel next to it sold for 50,000 an acre. He's selling it to me for 40 grand down and a seller carry for 360. Like,
Man.
Wow.
so
Well,
like,
let's- oh, go ahead.
it's just,
Go ahead.
you just look, there's plenty of it out there. You just gotta look.
That's awesome.
Well, any more questions? So I'm gonna just like maybe one or two more questions and then I want to hear, then we'll move on to the next part. Any more questions?
I'm ready to buy some land in Texas.
I know, right?
But you're ready to not buy land in Texas. You're ready to sell land in Texas
There you go, there you go.
and not buy it. Yeah.
Well, that,
I'm all about learning from people that make more money than me any day of the week.
well, that leads me to my next spot. This is the next part where Anthony and Daniel, can you just share like, because you mentioned a few things, you've got a mastermind, you've got your subscription. So if someone's listening to this call and they're like, this wasn't like, we didn't talk about this being a sales call or anything, but I feel like if someone feels compelled to work with you guys, it sounds like an amazing opportunity. What does that look like?
So you got two barriers of entry. You can, we have a training course we're releasing. 25,000 is a low ticket, 50 is a middle ticket, and 100,000 is the top end, or just bring us a big giant deal that we could work on together.
And that's we're launching that soon, but you can text land to 210. I'll put it in the chat, 972-1842. Just
yeah.
text land. Essentially we were doing, so we used to do free calls for our software. We did like 2-3 a week. It was crazy. I got tired of it, exhausting of it. I mean, you do 2 a month. I'm sure you feel the toll of 2 a month. Like doing these type of calls is exhausting. Even hosting is exhausting in its own way. But we did 2, 3, 4 calls. We did like 4 calls a week at one point. It was exhausting. And we've talked about software, we talk about land and all the stuff we do now. And we've had a couple people like go do subdivides, like, hey, I did 2 subdivides over here and made this much money. I'm like, okay, good job. Like, so we essentially like, okay, we're doing this for free. Like, it was exhausting doing it for free. Like, let's just monetize it. So right now it's like $150 a month. And essentially we do 4 calls a week. Some calls, there's live cold calling, I think once a week right now. And then we live cold call once a week, just on the MLS. We'll just cold call some leads. One of our students works at Costco at 22. We're negotiating a $9 million deal with him right now. And he works at Costco.
Oh, wow.
He works at Costco.
He works at Costco, it's 22.
Wow. Holy cow. That's phenomenal.
So
Wow.
you guys want to participate in that? It's essentially Land Mastermind. We'll teach you how to do the front end, where to find it, what to look for, how to find it, all that good stuff on the front end. And then essentially the high ticket masterminds for pretty much A to Z, but we only cover the front end for the 150 a month right now. We've been raising that $10 a month or every other couple of weeks, so it might be like $300 in a couple of weeks.
So if someone brought you 50 or 100,000 bucks, well, how does that work?
So
Just Yeah, I would say we would just put you in a deal as a JV partner. So whatever your split is, if it's a 1% or 5% of total sales at the end of the deal, but you're live in the deal. Like you're seeing all email communication between all buyers, agents, title companies, engineers, contractors, architects. You're really in a deal. So you're watching the whole thing go down. So there's no questions like, what do I do next? Like you're a passenger in the vehicle watching everything go down. So you're learning all the steps of the way because you're actually in a real deal and you're going to get a check at the end. So.
Yeah. And then for instance, 350 acres, we did a live sales day about 2 weeks ago, and we sold $2 million worth of land in one day, which is crazy. So we filmed it. We'll have video coming out, releasing that soon. So if you guys check us out on YouTube, I'll put that here in the chat too. We'll be releasing that soon, hopefully in the next week or two. We'll have the video.
We had 3 cameramen, and one of them had like the TV camera like that they shoot movies with. So it should be really high quality audio. We were all mic'd up. We're both from the city, and we got all like urban cowboy. We got cowboy hats and boots, long sleeves and stuff. So we had fun that day. But yeah, we killed it. That was our first $1 million profit day ever. So
That's awesome.
It was pretty cool.
I've never even made $1 million in 1 year yet.
That's the very first time we had ever seen that land. We got to the land for the first time ever seeing it at 9, and we left and we had tons of sales, and it was really fun. It was cool. Like I said, there's really no way for you to imagine it until you're just there watching it all go down. There's like multiple salespeople, walkie-talkies, like multiple like ATVs, and a big circus tent with like tables underneath and pizza and coffee and contracts, and it went down. Yeah, it was crazy.
That is awesome.
Lot 6 just sold. Confirmed. Lot 6 just sold. And everybody's like, "Oh shoot, I got to get my lot." And so sold sticker on the signs and stuff. It was cool.
Yeah, I still have the hat to prove it.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun that day. It was really cool. But I'll tell you, like, if you're thinking about how can I leverage this information, it's literally as simple as this. There's a family of investors, and they're in a ranch about 500 acres, about, I don't know, 30 minutes southwest of Waco. They bought it for appreciation, but they haven't been able to move it now. So I told them about what we do. They're willing to let us take over that ranch and subdivide it and sell it, and then just give them the proceeds as we sell, and then we'll just keep the last half. So somebody would literally give you a $6 million 500-acre ranch and say, "Hey, take this off my plate." So that's the power of what we do, where somebody's willing to. I didn't say I was going to give them $1. I didn't say I was going to give them 75 cents. I said, "I'll help you get rid of this property. I know what to do." And they're like, "Man, if you can help us with this, that would be amazing." So who's going to give you
awesome.
a $6 million apartment complex and say, "Here, go monetize this whenever you feel like it, and just pay me when it sells"? This is never going to happen. Never going to happen. And in land, that's all day, every day, all day, every day.
We've had a seller literally